Just want to, I guess, raise awareness on domestic violence because January 31st, 2011, when I was 17 years old, my mom was murdered by my stepdad, and me and my brother were in the house as well. And I went in. My brother ran outside, so I went in. I saw it all. I went in there and tried to wake her up. It wasn't obviously going to happen. Then I turned my back and looked at him, my stepdad, and I saw he was grabbing a gun. So I didn't know if he was going to. I thought he was going to hurt himself. So I pushed him and I stole the gun and threw it outside. So that's tragic. That night I wish I could forget, but a lot of people go through it. It started out like just a normal night, but it ended in the worst possible way. I remember going in, trying to go to bed, and he came in there with an airsoft gun and shooting me and my brother and the dogs and everything. So I just, I ran in there to my living room and just talked to my mom. Told her I just wanted to go to bed, and she said, "I know." And that's the last thing I ever said to her, and she said to me personally. I remember going back in the bedroom, laying down with my brother, and then I hear arguing, which was nothing new. He was always doing something. So then I went towards the end of the hallway, and I looked around the corner, and he had a letter opener, like a real sharp one, like standing over, like about to stab her in the stomach. So I didn't know what to do. So I just ran back to my brother, and I told him that he's effing stabbing her. I don't want to cuss on here, but yeah, I was like, he's stabbing her. I just kind of froze. So I grabbed a golf club and went down to the end of the hallway. I was like, well, if he sees me the way he's looking, he's going to see me. So I don't really know what to do. So I just went back to the bedroom. And a few minutes later, I heard him say, he said repetitively, sit the F down. So I guess she was standing up trying to walk out the door. And she didn't. And then the last thing she ever said, she was crying. She said, "Tony, please stop." And that's when, the gun went off. And I heard her hit the floor, so I ran in there. That's when I tried to wake her up. Noticed, obviously, blood everywhere, and I just couldn't really come to grips with what happened. I was trying to wake her up, and blood's all over me, blood's all over him. I took the gun, and that's the only thing I remember. And then my neighbor came down. I remember me throwing the gun outside and the cops coming. That's the only thing I remember. And then a couple weeks later, my neighbor had told me, whenever he was down there, that he told me to go to his house. I walked up to his house. He's like, "I watched you walk into my door," and the next thing I know, I turned around because I heard a gun cock, and he said that it was me, and I had the gun pointed at Tony's head, and Tony told me to do it. So I started to pull the trigger, and my neighbor told me he put his hand in the hammer so it wouldn't go off. And he said when he looked at me, I was pale as a ghost, and my pupils were just straight black. And he said he didn't want me to ruin my life by doing that. At the time, I was like, it wouldn't have ruined my life because my life's already ruined. When I call people, I never cussed to my family, and that's all I could say was just cuss words and everything. And so they got there. It was late at night. Then it took me and my brother down to the police station, and did questioning for hours. I just wanted to go to sleep, but I know they needed to do their job, and it wasn't comfortable knowing that they were suspecting me as well because I had gunshot residue on my hands. But obviously they proved that I didn't do it. But it's just not comfortable at 17 years old having to be swabbed for something that you didn't do. They're just doing their job. But it's definitely, nobody should have to go through that. But unfortunately, I did, and my brother did as well. So that's why I'm here today.
Well, how have you been getting through that since that point?
Mainly just doing it on my own. I went to therapy when it first happened, and they always talk about sports, and that's not going to help me. I love sports, but that's not going to fix anything. Nothing's going to fix anything really. But so I just stopped it, and then I was still in high school when it happened. My senior year, I made a gesture, and somebody thought I was going to hurt myself. Never going to do that. So they told the office. I didn't know who. I don't know. I still to this day don't know who told. I get why, because of what just happened. But they pulled me to the office, and I got to the top of got in the office where the guidance counselors and stuff was. There was cops in there, and I was like, "What's going on?" My uncle was in there, and my cousin was in there. I was like, "Something's fishy," and they were like, "Okay, you're not going to go anywhere." So I was like, "Okay, it's cool. I'm not going. I'm not leaving this school." Little did I know that they had a plan. They took me in a cop car from high school to Peninsula Mental Hospital, and that's my first like true experience with therapy, like actual therapy. Didn't want to be in there. It's not comfortable. Like they make you get, they strip search you and everything in there. Like I didn't give consent to any of that. I was just kind of forced to go. So they were telling me that I had to take all these pills, and I didn't know what they were, and so I wouldn't take them. And then they pulled me in the office a couple of days later in the hospital, and they were like, "No, sure, I haven't taken your medicine." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Well, you can't leave till you take it." So then they came in there with a whole handful of pills. I had no idea what they were, so I had to take them. Then I was able to leave the next day. It's just, so therapy is, that's why I left a bad taste in my mouth on therapy. So I tried it a few different times after that, and then it's always back to sports. It's not going to help. So I just started doing it on my own. No medicines, no nothing, just kind of just living. Trying to play a lot of basketball, or any sports in general, just to kind of keep my mind off of it. But here lately, my anxiety's been very, very bad, and depression has been pretty bad in the past couple months. So I'm just kind of trying to find ways to work around it. Going back to church, trying to get that going, and meeting with my pastor on Wednesdays, meeting with men's group at church on Tuesdays, and basketball at church with the church growers on Monday, to kind of get a circle, because I've always felt so alone, didn't really have anybody. So now it's good to know that I actually have people that don't judge, they just want to help. And I've always been the person I don't want help, don't need your help. So now it's uncomfortable for me to say that I need help. And it's okay to say you need help, because not everybody's okay, and that's okay. I'm from Union County, small county. So a lot of people knew my mom in the community. She worked in healthcare, so she was probably a lot of people's nurse, whatever. So she probably saw a lot of people. So then she was very invested with the football team and just the school in general. Always there to help anybody. Always had a smile on her face regardless of what she was going through. And just, the light of the room. We didn't have much growing up. So after she passed, we found letters in the mail that she was donating money that we didn't even have to charity. That's the type of person she was. Like, no matter what we didn't have, she would still give. And that's, a lot of people need to be like that, especially in today's world. But she's just never met another person like her. Probably never will. Just very loved, very just kind person. I try to be like she was, and I'm not going to be like she was, but all I do is try. But it definitely hit the community hard as well. Obviously not as hard as me, but Union County was almost like it just stood still for a while after that happened. Like, just things weren't the same. The football team stopped doing tailgates, because she's the one to help get those going, and they just stopped doing those. They didn't do anything like that anymore, so it just kind of made everything stand still, because that type of stuff doesn't happen where I'm from. So it's just, it just kind of says what kind of person she is, that not like one person made the whole county stand still just because how involved and how loved she was. I think a lot of people can take lightly to that.
With her not being here, do you still think about her every day, I assume?
Yeah, I try not to, just because I don't want to kind of dwell on things. Obviously, it gets easier with time, but you never forget, and you're never going to, when those moments come, they're always going to hit you. Like, like a freight train. So like they're always going to be there. It's been 14 years, but it feels a lot longer to me. But when those moments do hit, they're pretty heavy. So I just try to keep my mind off of that as best I can. Just, I mean, because she wouldn't want me to live that way. I mean, I have a daughter and another one on the way, so I got to live my life the best way I can to provide for them and to just be the person she wanted me to be. So.
Do you feel being a father, a husband, and all that, just having more purpose, I guess, has been a really big help with your...
Yeah, that's been a huge help because it gave me something more to live for than just myself, because there for a while it was just me. I didn't have anybody to... People, I have family, but nobody to really depend on me and to look up to me or anything like that. So now it's see my little girl every day. It's like, that's why I'm still here. That's why, that's why I stole the gun. That God had a reason for me to be here. As many times as I've wished I wouldn't have made that move back in the day, but there's also, look at my life now. I have a daughter, another one on the way, so I've got a lot of positive things going that could have been 2 tragedies, well, possibly 3 with my brother, is now we're both still here carrying on my mom's legacy and making our own. So it's definitely given me a bigger purpose being a husband and a father. So, yeah.
Well, I guess what would be your biggest piece of advice to somebody who maybe has went through something similar, and maybe not something exactly similar, but somebody who's lost somebody?
Yeah. Just don't do what I did. Don't be stubborn. Take the help there, because I've said it numerous times, I wish I could go back to 17-year-old me and say, deal with it now. Don't deal with it, in my case, 14 years down the road. Deal with it now when it happens. That way you can not be as messed up. Like, you can get help and learn how to manage it better than me just sitting 14 years and now it's just all 14 years of built up of anger, hurt, and all that stuff, and now I'm going to have a lot of time invested to fix something that I could have fixed 14 years ago. And you're never alone. So my mom was obviously a victim of domestic violence. Everybody always says, why don't you just leave? It's not that easy. I lived it. It's not that easy. Because he told her if she tried to leave, he'd kill her and me and my brother. So obviously it's all manipulative ways to get you to stay. I can't say it for all cases, but for my case, it's manipulative. And a lot of it is, you're not good enough. You can't do with it. You can't live without me. So people stay. Typically, it's not easy to leave, but there is ways to leave. Just don't be afraid to seek help like we were. Everybody always tells me, why didn't you tell me what was going on? Why didn't your mom tell me? Because we were afraid of what would happen if he found out we told. Because it was either me or my brother. We went to school one day and we had a bruise on our wrist for where he had hit us. The school called and we got it way worse when we got home. So when it comes to that, yeah, you could tell, but what's going to happen when you get back home? And so we just didn't tell anything, and because we never thought he would do what he did, or else we probably would have told a lot sooner. I just didn't think he would ever do what happened. But I knew he was evil from kindergarten until 17 for the way he treated us. But I just never thought you'd do that. But yeah, just get help when it happens. No, don't wait. Yeah, he was a very evil person, and I knew it. My brother, he was young. He's 3 years younger than me, so he saw things a little bit later than I did. I remember kindergarten. I'll never forget it. Kindergarten, they give you they used to, a green card for being good, yellow for being a little bit bad, and red for being real bad. So I got a red card, and I got home, and he just whipped me and all that stuff, and put me in the corner, and then whipped me again. And I was like, dude, okay, whatever. So I just kind of just thought it was just because I was bad, and maybe I deserved that one. I don't know. I was 5, 6 years old. I don't know. But then it just got to be way worse as I got older. The whippings became frequent and not just typical whippings. They were like more on like abuse, and then the mental abuse, the physical abuse, emotional was always there. I just always tell all of us, we were a mistake. He personally called me fat. He called me Elmo, called me bird beak, just because I've got a big nose. Everybody knows me now. I got a big nose. It's fine. I know that, but I didn't need to hear that growing up. And like I said, the whippings, they weren't really whippings. They're abuse, really. But just a lot of them, honestly. But the worst one that I ever got was my brother lied about taking a PSP to school, and got back home. Apparently Tony figured out it was gone, and I don't play video games, so I knew it wasn't me. And he asked both of us, it wasn't me, and then my brother said it wasn't him. Obviously it was one of us. So he put a chair in the living room, made my mom sit down, put me over her lap. Or no, he sat in the chair, he put me over his lap. He made my mom hold my legs, my brother hold my feet, while he just whipped me for, I don't know, probably 5 minutes it seemed like. And then I had to hold my brother down. Me and my mom held him down while he got the same thing, and then that probably lasted 20 minutes between going back and forth between us. And we're all crying because with the whippings, it got to a point where it didn't hurt me. I was just I'm having to hold my brother down, and as my mom is too. It's just, it wasn't fun. So I was like, that was the worst one that we've ever got. And I made him mad one time because he was whipping me with a belt, and I was like, "Are you done?" Because he just kept hitting me, and I was like, "Are you done?" And he didn't like that response, but I just got numb to it. Nobody should get numb to that, but I unfortunately did. So he got mad, and he went out in the garage, made like an 1.5-inch thick paddle, drilled holes in it. Came back in, and he goes, "Okay, see if you're smiling now." And he hit me with it twice, and it broke in half. Again, I was like, "Are you done?" And then again, he just grabbed the belt and started hitting me again, back, legs, arms. I was like, it's not hurting me, dude. I'm so used to you doing this. It's not hurting me. And then his idea of the corner, you stand against the wall, but we got whipped to go in it. And to make it more uncomfortable, he would get a bowl of uncooked beans. Everybody knows those are hard. He'd make us stand in that for probably 30 minutes to an hour, just to stand in those beans in the corner, and then get whipped again to get out. It's not typical punishment, I would say. And my brother got a lot of it, but I got more because I was home a lot more. One time he told me he was going to teach me how to fight, which I knew he just wanted an excuse to hit me again. This time I was probably, 14, 15 years old probably. Didn't have a shirt on in the house. He punched me in the nose. I was holding my hands down to catch the blood from hitting the floor. And he told me, he's like, if one drop of blood hits the floor, I'm gonna hit you again. And so I'm just sitting there crying, holding blood so it doesn't hit the floor, because I don't want to get hit again, because I knew he would do it. And there's just a lot of abuse that no kid should have to go through. And the amount of times I've seen my mom get hit with belts, stuff thrown at her, just punched, hit, and it's not cool. And then one time I watched him chase her all the way through the house, hitting her in the head with a belt, hitting her back, arms, just wherever he could hit her. Chased her all the way through the house, and then locked her in the bedroom. And then she came out holding her shoulder, he dislocated her shoulder, and she never went to the doctor about it because they would find out what happened, and so she just never dealt with it. So just a lot of abuse and torture, really, that nobody should have to go through. But yeah, it was a lot.
As a man today, what's something you've taken from that to be positive going forward, I guess.
It showed me what not to be. I didn't have a dad growing up. The only dad I did have is, not a good one. Tony was not a good man, still not. So it just showed me how not to treat people, luckily I have a mom to teach me those things too. But now I always wanted a child so I can be what I didn't have. Just to kind of don't follow. People always say you follow in your footsteps that you came from. No, you don't have to. You don't have to fall victim to what you saw, did, heard. You don't have to do any of that. You make your own path. And I chose one that was completely different than what I grew up in. I don't want to be any part of that. I don't want to associate myself with any part of what he was. So it just made me be, I guess, more alert to certain situations, and just show me just like, again, it's not what not to be, and just that you're not what you grew up in, you're what you make of yourself. I just didn't want to be anything negative, so I just chose to keep my head on straight the way my mom would want me to. There's a million paths I could have went down. A lot of people ask me, why didn't you resort to drugs or alcohol like a lot of other people do? I'm like, that's not me. That's not what my mom was. Why would I do something that I'm not just to try to fix something? It's not going to fix it, it's going to make it worse. Because at that point, you're just hiding from what you are going through. That's just a defense mechanism. It's not, nothing's going to help you. So I just chose to stay straight, work, and just keep my mind off of it and just keep moving forward.
What do you think your mom would think of you today as a parent?
It's a good question. I've been told that I'm the male version of her, so I think she would be pretty proud. I hope so, at least, because I try to do everything the right way. Obviously, I'm a human. I mess up. I get aggravated with my daughter and for dumb things I shouldn't, but still, that doesn't change who I am. I think she'd be pretty proud that my daughter looks like her, so I think that's God saying something. Like, I always wanted a son, but I got a daughter that looks like my mom, so she's still here, even though she's not. I definitely I strive to be the best parent that I can, and try to be the parent she was to me, and that way my daughter can see how she was through me, and kind of just hopefully raise a woman as good as my mom was. That way she can shed the same light on the world that my mom did. Help others before you help yourself. I'm the same way, too much sometimes, but that's the way you should be. Just help everybody else, and that's what I want my daughter to grow up to be. So I definitely think my mom would be proud of the person I am and the father I am to my daughter.